I believe it's poet Maya Angelou who once said, when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. Or at least that's basically summing it up. And at this point, I think I'm just going to have to believe Disney as a company have absolutely changed, and this is who they are now. They are no longer the trusted brand for wholesome family entertainment. They are no longer the trusted brand that you can just kind of go, you know what? It was produced by Disney. I know that it's good for my 5-year-old. I know that it's going to be good for my 8-year-old. It feels like there's a lot of agendas going on at Disney, not only in the films, TV, streaming, everywhere it's kind of happening. And we're certainly seeing it within Marvel Studios. A lot of interesting decisions being made. We've seen some of the ramifications. They've had some of the lowest grossing films in the history of the MCU, despite the MCU starting 10 years prior, within the last 12 months. Also, a lot of the lowest reviewed MCU films of all time have come out recently. And viewership on Disney Plus with their MCU shows is also trending down. And I do believe that's going to continue. They're putting a lot of effort into a young Avengers team, which you imagine, Riri Williams, the replacement for Iron Man, also known as Ironheart, about to be introduced in the Black Panther sequel film, will be a major starring character on that team, along with Miss Marvel, Hawkeye. I think we're going to get Nova in there as well. I'm sure there's going to be a couple more characters. But this is something that's supposed to be kind of geared towards kids. Obviously, it's being introduced into the big movie, but when it comes to Disney Plus, you're assuming this is going to be another kind of kids-branded TV show, and they've made a big hiring. Entertainment Weekly confirmed RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 7 finalist Shea Couleé is joining Disney Plus's upcoming Ironheart TV show as a series regular, though sources close to the project could not confirm the exact role she will play or if the All-Star 5 winner will be in or out of drag. Based on the comic book character of the same name, Ironheart follows Riri Williams, played by Dominique Thorne, as a genius inventor who devises an armor suit that rivals that of Iron Man's. If you are strictly an MCU Marvel Studios fan and maybe you don't know much about the comic books, this character, which absolutely did replace Iron Man within the comic books at the height of Tony Stark's popularity in the MCU, or the most baffling decisions I've ever seen in any form of entertainment, did not exactly get over. Still hasn't gotten over, and it's been, like 8 years? Riri Williams just isn't popular to begin with, so Marvel Studios and the MCU are already behind the 8 ball as far as the character. The character's never been popular, and you have to sell this character to the MCU, and now you're adding another hurdle onto families on whether or not they even want to continue their Disney Plus subscriptions at this point. We've seen a concerted effort by the mainstream news media and entertainment media within America to really start pushing LGBTQ culture on children pretty hard. And one of the things I think has really caught a lot of parents off guard is the idea that drag queen entertainment is okay for 5, 6, even 10-year-olds. It's still not good for 10-year-olds. It's strange that they would be pushing this agenda to this direction. And I think that's where a lot of people have gone, you know what? I think I've had enough. So I'm very surprised with all the obstacles in front of the MCU and Disney right now, with the public perception of the company, that they've decided to make this casting choice. Now, it does say in the article, we're not sure if the character is going to be in drag. I would be beyond flabbergasted if the character wasn't in drag, because it definitely goes along with a lot of what Bob Chapek and other people within Disney with power have said they wanted to do. So I don't know what the hell they're thinking here. Some of you may ask, what character within the Marvel universe could they be incorporating into Ironheart Riri Williams by casting Shea Couleé? The only one that makes sense is a character called Dark Veil, who is a mutant, so it kind of even makes more sense since we just had mutants or X-Men confirmed in the Miss Marvel show on Disney Plus itself. In December of 2018, Sina Grace's Iceman series introduced a drag queen character named Dark Veil, who is reportedly inspired by multiple drag race personalities, including Shea. This is what Sina Grace said about that. Dark Veil was inspired by so many drag queens, but I've kind of been officially quoted as saying that Shea Couleé, Dax exclamation point, The Vixen, and Monet X Change were my main go-tos. Honestly, I just wondered what my sister's friend, Jomar, would look like as a superhero, because he was the first gay person I'd really gotten to know as a kid and had the body of a man who wasn't fit, wasn't fat, which I felt was super important to put it on the page. I love me some Naomi Smalls, but I wanted a full-bodied queen. I will be shocked if that character, Dark Veil, from Cena Grace, who just said the inspiration was his sister's friend Jomar, who was a big-bodied queen, is not the character that's coming in here. And guess what? In comic books, if you want to say Riri Williams' Ironheart failed, nobody remembers really Dark Veil at all. No one cares about that character. The character is completely a background player within the Marvel Comics universe because there's nothing to the character, because it's just based on some random dude that Cena Grace knew growing up. He was like, yeah, I want his body type on a transgender character in the Marvel Comics universe. And that's the inspiration for the character. And that's what Kevin Feige, Bob Chapek, and the other leadership at Disney and Marvel Studios are going to be introducing into the MCU, most likely, within the Ironheart show on Disney+. As a parent, how does that make you feel? Makes me feel not very good about it. I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to skip that show. Just as a Disney consumer, I find myself more and more flummoxed. I'm like, what is going on here? I've been around for like almost 45 years now. Disney has always been there, and it's always been the family brand. Safe for kids. You can entrust us with your kids for 20, 30, even an hour and a half at a time, and we're not going to do anything wrong. You can trust us that your kids will be entertained, and we aren't going to do anything obscene or anything like that. And it feels like Disney's just done this enormous 180. Of course, Couleé's casting comes months after Disney CEO Bob Chapek, in response to criticism of his initial decision to keep the company out of the debate surrounding Florida's parental rights in education bill, declared that he would become an outspoken champion for the LGBT community. We also saw footage of Disney's Reimagine Tomorrow program, where many high-ranking Disney officials explained how they're adding LGBT content to children's programming. Me personally, I don't have anything against the LGBT community. I've got gay friends, I've got trans friends, I've got all that stuff. I've got gay relatives, shockingly, wouldn't you believe it? But where you start to cross the line is when you're like, you know what would make LGBTQ culture better? If we started getting kids into it when they're as young as like 4 and 5 years old. And this stuff is happening not only at Disney, but at Netflix and other places. And it's becoming untenable as a parent. I can't trust anybody to provide age-appropriate entertainment for children anymore. You have to screen all of it, and you definitely have to do it with Disney these days. It's so strange that they've gotten here, and the pushback has been quite dramatic. They've seen a lot of negative repercussions for the decisions that they've made as of late, but apparently they're just willing to eat the loss, which is surprising because they are an enormous entertainment company. And you imagine the bottom line has a lot to do. They are publicly traded and whatnot. In fact, Disney shares are down 31% this year, making it the worst performer among the Dow Jones Industrial Average components in 2022. And recently, flops from Pixar's Turning Red and Lightyear, along with MCU films Eternals and Shang-Chi, reiterates families and shareholders may be losing faith in Disney's family brand status. And I can tell you, if 4 years ago this was announced, well, that is an interesting choice. I'm surprised they did that, but it probably wouldn't ring a whole lot of bells for me because I still had faith and trust in Disney as a brand and the way that they were trying to entertain children instead of indoctrinate them, which is kind of what it feels like they're doing today. But once you see everything that's going on and you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, this is no bueno. This is not cool. You can't do this stuff. Disney really needs to clean up its act, or they're going to permanently tarnish their entire brand, and people are just going to walk away for good, and Disney's just going to end up burning to the ground, which is insane because Disney's been so important to my life just growing up, and it's something I want to enjoy with my kids. And of course, there are still great Disney things out there that have already been produced, which I know my kids can enjoy with me, but I would like to enjoy some of this new stuff with them as well. And I would like to have the peace of mind to put Disney programming, Disney original programming that I haven't consumed in front of my kids and not think, oh my goodness, what are Disney going to try and do here? They're going to try and pull a fast one on me. So I don't know. It's just mistake. But this has been going on for a while. We've actually talked about it here on the channel. In fact, I had Kneon from Clownfish TV on the channel last year, I believe, and Kneon and I talked about how agenda is trumping everything at Disney these days. If you haven't seen this conversation, definitely check it out. It's really, really enlightening.